Hello and salamu alaikum KBA players. Today we got a mock draft segment, mock drafts with Abdullah Alzamli. We're going to go through the entire draft. Now, I'm no Mel Kiper, but I'm going to try to be entertaining and I'm trying to walk through this draft to give you a sense of what I think might happen. A little bit based on my own thoughts, a little bit based on some intel I've gathered. So we're going to go through it. We're going to go through the first round pretty at every pick, and then we're going to go each round just one by maybe the round at a time and talk about some specific picks that could go either way. We love your attendance. Please provide your feedback. This is a mock draft, so don't get your feelings hurt. Things can go up and down. This is not the real draft. Definitely let me know if you have any disagreements in the comments below. So we're going to start right away with the number one pick. So the draft order, if you guys don't know, it's Hamza Malik first, Murtaza Mirza second, Rehan Siddiqui, reigning champion, third, Jazib Faruqi, fourth, Hamza Ramzan Ali, fifth, Abdullah Kidwai, sixth, Ayub Khan, seventh, Abad Bawani, eighth, and Ali Zaidi, the newest captain, picking ninth and 10th. This is a snake draft, so they'll have some picks around the edges. So that's the order of what we have. That's what we're expecting. There does not seem to be any trades, though there's been some offers. Does not seem to be any trades moving up and down. And so this is what we have right now. So we're going to go ahead and start with the number one pick overall in the KBA draft. And I have Hamza Malik taking his dear friend Amar Usman. Now honestly, this is based on intel, what I think is going to happen, knowing the strong friendship between the two. Amar Usman is a fantastic player, and I think he will do well with the Hamza Malik pairing. For me, though, I think this is a tough play here. This is somebody you can trade down and pick probably a little bit later. Amar Usman, fantastic offensive player. But there are some other players that maybe can give you a little bit more on both ends. I think if you really want him, I think you just trade down. Just trade down so you can get somebody that complements him. Taking him at number one overall is going to be interesting, And the other thing is like the league, KBA, it's the reason we do these draft leagues so you don't always play with the same guys. And so I would love to see Hamza Malik take a risk, draft somebody he hasn't played with. There's a lot of good options here. There's some guys even he has played with, but take Abdul Basit Mushtaq. Why not? See what happens. That would be a formidable duo. But this is what I believe will happen, and that was who I believe will be the number one pick of the KBA draft, and a deserved pick. Don't let me knock him. That's a MVP of IFNBL. Really really talented player. Number two is Murtaza Mirza. Now I have him taking Enes Alzamli. I think Murtaza can go a couple of different ways. There's a lot of good talent here. But I think he takes Enes because he's going to want a point guard that can set him up. I think he's wanted to play with Enes for a long time. They've talked about. Yeah, Murtaza was supposed to play with Enes and myself a few years ago during the COVID lockdown year. And we had a team that was disgusting. We definitely would have won it all. But never happened because of COVID. So this is the chance to make that happen, to go play with him. I think there's again a lot of different options here. You could take a Basit, you could take a Adnan even, you could take a lot of different players that could fit with Murtaza's game. But why not take probably the best pure point guard in the league? Someone who will play both sides, someone who is a champion, who was a Finals MVP and MVP of last year's KBA. And that's where I think he's going to wind up going. So you got Amar Usman off the board, you got Enes off the board, and that leaves Rehan. Now Rehan, he was Enes' teammate last year, so stuck in this spot with having to pick a different star, I think he takes Usfar Andi. Now the connection between the Siddiquis and Usfar is one that's well documented. There's some loyalty there, and I think obviously Usfar is a fantastic player, an offensive engine in amongst himself, so I would not be surprised at all to see that happen, and that's what I think you'll end up having. There's not too much to say here. For Jazzy, similarly, I don't think there's that much you can say here. If Tariq is going to slip to the fourth pick, he's going to pick up his boy. Is an extremely talented player, probably maybe the most well-rounded offensive player in the league, and has a good size on him. Will play defense. Jazzy had the unfortunate position of having superstar Isam Hamwi on his team, and Isam plays one way. He's just a guard. That's the problem. He's a great player, but you can only do so much, So here you have a little bit of size, help you with the rebounding, pair the friends together, and that will take us through the first four. I don't know, but I don't think it's like that controversial. I think most of these picks are as to be expected. Hamza with the fifth pick. I have him taking Gotnan, Adnan, Gvozden, the first big off the board after four straight guard picks, with Tariq being a little bit of a wing. I think he's, the most talented offensive big in the league, can do a lot for you. He's a very good rebounder, will stretch the floor. Hamza himself, as a smaller guard, might want to start building out that front court early, and this is a great option to do that. And maintain some shooting. There's a couple other bigs that are also great, but maybe don't have the same stretchability as Adnan. So I'm excited to see this. Would be his KBA debut. So it's going to be, it's interesting. This league asks a lot of its stars, and most of its stars show up and show out and have some crazy numbers because the competition is a little bit lower on the back end. But sometimes, when the pressure gets hot, it gets a little bit harder. So I'm really excited to see how Adnan does in this league, and what he can show us, his full repertoire on the offensive end. That takes us to the sixth pick, which is Kidwai, and I see him taking Abdul Basit Mushtaq. It's a miracle that he fell down this far. I mean, this is a bona fide superstar, perhaps the most prolific scorer in KBA history. Someone who was not even supposed to be in KBA, but for the addition of Eric Bandy, which we're going to talk about later. So Abdul Basit drops to 6, maybe a steal for Kid. You know what you're getting from him. Probably an easy 30 in this league. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting. Now what matters is how you round this team out. Can you get enough supporting cast players to balance the team out when it comes to the playoffs? You're going to make the playoffs if you have Basit. But do you have enough to win it all? That's going to be Kidwai's job here. And that'll take us to our 7th pick with Ayub. I think, got sniped in some ways. He probably would have took Basit. That leaves him with Walid Mirza. Again, probably the second or first best big in the league, arguably. Just a force to be reckoned with. Is going to be a problem on the glass. And in this league, he really can do a lot more offensively. He stretches the floor. No one's yelling at him, so he doesn't have to just, sit in a dunker spot. He can shoot mid-ranges. He can shoot some threes. He really can show us what he's very good at, which is a lot. He has a very, nuanced offensive game. He just doesn't really get to show it that much in the leagues that he plays in. So we're glad that he's in KBA, and we're glad to see him continue to do that. And I think the pairing of Ayub and Walid will be very good. That leads us to Abad. Abad is our 8th pick, and I have him taking Isam Hamwi, his teammate in the IFN championship team. Again, Isam dropping this late, a little bit of a surprise, but maybe after the not so great season 1 of his debut in KBA, there's going to be some consequences for it. He's coming off a championship in CMBL, and he's just a very, very skilled offensive player. And, I mean, personally, I think he's underrated defensively. I think he can hold his own. He competes. Now, the problem is you got to limit his crash outs. Is the Abad-Isam pairing going to help the crash out situation? I don't know. Maybe there's going to be more crash outs. But I think you got to take the most talented player on the board. The top 8, there's some really big stars, and then there's a question on who's going to get to that level. For example, does Amar Osman crack into that top 6, or is he in the same tier as everybody else? I am sure he thinks so. I'm sure Hamza Malik thinks so. That's why he's taking him number 1 overall. And Abad, you know what you're getting with Isam. You're going to get a high 20-point game scorer, a playmaker, and now can you just give him enough around him so that he doesn't have to be as frustrated as he was last season? That takes us to our snake order. So our 2 picks from Ali Zaidi, our newest captain. And this was tough for me to try to figure out where he was going to go. I was looking at the list. I think there's a lot of options. I know he values loyalty. So I went, these are what I think he's going to do. I think he's going to take some combination of Zain Rizvi and Hassan Shweipaj. and he's gonna get the guards. He's a big himself. He knows he can handle a lot of the bigs in the league. I think he's gonna go for two guards that can try to equal one of these players. And with Hassan, Hassan is a competitor. He's a bull. He can give you a lot of different play. He can hit you from the perimeter. He can attack the rim. He can play off the ball. He can play on the ball. Zayn is a fantastic shooter, really good off the ball player. Will fit into any system you have, and this is how you begin to build a really good system. Now you're gonna need, I think, a little bit more playmaking too. You want to be able to help them out. So let's see how that draft kind of fills out. But this is what I see so far, um, and I would see him taking both Shwepaj and Zayn Rizvi, kind of reunite him with Shwepaj, and of course with Zayn. Now I'm gonna unblock the whole second round, and then we can talk about some specific picks that might be interesting here. So there's a couple picks. One, I think Abad takes AU. He's going to try to recreate this IFN team, give Isam some more offense. That's going really guard heavy for him. So let's see if he does do that or if he ends up trying to take a big or a wing on that level. But that's what I think he does. Take one of the most talented shooters in the entire league on the board and then go. I'm going to touch on just a couple, not everybody. I want to touch on Eric Bandy. This is his debut in the league. I think he will fall to Kidwai, and he will be a second round pick paired with Abdul Basit Mushtaq. He's a very talented offensive player. Very talented offensive player. I think in this league, he can thrive. I mean, I think he could be honestly upwards of a 20-point game scorer if Basit passes him the ball. But they play together. They have good chemistry. Now the issue again is looking at this team is how are you going to build the defense to surround them. Bandy's a competitor, so I'm sure he'll guard, but you want to be able to have some rim protection. But I think that will be an interesting team. Let's see where we go. Maybe I'll talk about this Musab pick by Hamza. So to the second round, I mean he's going to have some options here. I think if he wants to take a different point guard, he could go El Agha here instead of Bawani. I think if Zaidi picks a different, if he doesn't take Shwepaj, maybe Hamza goes there. I think he's gonna go for a point guard. I think that's what I'm looking at in the second round. And so for me, Musab, fantastic player, good rim pressure. He's gonna fit in really nicely with Adnan. I think that could be a fun team. So I like that pick. Jazz and Aman, not too much to go there. I just think you want to get a good big, a scoring big, someone who can play off. So I like that. And then I want to talk a little bit about Ibrahim Al Agha, who's also his debut in the league. Now Al Agha would be paired on with this team with Anas. So you're going to have another kind of guard. It's going to allow him to both play off the ball and then also be able to be a distributor. It's going to build a pretty good team, that Palestinian Arab connection, and then you're going to have the shooting with Murtaza. They're going to need some bigs, so let's see how that builds out. But if he falls all the way here, I think this could be a really interesting team. Really fun team. We know Al Agha has not played with the most talented teams in some of the other leagues. So this is a chance to play with one of the reigning MVP, a reigning champion, and also have some good players around you to see how he does. Now, are you going to continue to chuck, or are you going to model your game, change your game, play your role into a way that really shows how good of a talent you truly are? That's the key. It's not just how talented you are, it's how you can fit in the system. I would be really curious to see that. There's not much to say about Asfar and Hassan. They've played together, so I'm not going to touch on that. And then Hayan Khan making it down to the last pick of the second round. This was a tough one for me. I was trying to figure out kind of where to go. And I think it's a attacking wing. Hayan has been very successful in the league. He's been a very good player, putting pressure, making layups. I could see even him being picked by Rayhan and Asfar because of the success he's had with Asfar. So there could be that those two could be swapped. But I think if he drops all the way to the end of the second round, it's a good option for Hamza Malik to have on the wing and to play there. And now we're going to unlock the third round. Let's talk a little bit here. So Hamza Malik would pair Hayan with a guard with Mo Saeed. I think that could be interesting. You're going to get a big Mo signing. So continuing the Arab trend, this team just super Arab. I don't know if that's a recipe for success or a recipe for crash outs, but it's going to be interesting. Big Mo, another guy who's debuting, very talented, can push, can rebound, and that's how you round out the team. I mean, you got three guards. You need somebody who's going to be a paint presence, who's going to rebound, and who's gonna defend the rim. So that'll be good. Similarly, Rehan taking Salman Majid, another big who's had good success in this league, and can really both protect the rim and make some layups on that end. Let's see. Let's touch a little bit on some of the tougher picks at the end of the round. I think for Jazib, like Usman Hussein, actually, I think is a great. He's just going to be a role guy. He's going to be able to guard, fill the wing, do good. Similarly with Muhammad Atif, I see those players filling similar roles for their teams and fill similar needs where you might have a guard. So I'm not going to say too much on that. For Kid Y, I think he gets his big. So how are you going to build around Bassett and Eric? Why not build with one of the smartest defensive players who's going to rebound, who can make a layup, who's going to run the floor, and your pillar partner in IBL and Mohsen Safi. I mean, I think that's going to be this is how you build a good team. You got the offense, now build around it. Build somebody who's a really good positional defender who can help hide some of the defensive weaknesses. And now you just need a guy on the wing who can also guard. So let's see if that's what ends up happening. I see Ayub taking Nabil Mansour. Now, Nabil Mansour dropping this low is interesting. Nabil Mansour is a talented player. The fit thing is always going to be a question with him on what team will he fit, on what team will he play well. I see him going down here where you need maybe a little bit more offense. This is a pretty big steal in round 3. Somebody who can play pretty hard and can score. And I think he's played with Walid Mirza before and with Ayub. So there should be some chemistry there that can keep them afloat. Now, we talked about Isam and AU and Abad and trying to build that big. I think Shariar is a good start here. He's going to be a wing. He's going to help you defend, and that's how you kind of go. Now, you still need a rim protector. You still need a big who's going to rebound. But Shariar, he will hold his own on the wing, and he will do a lot of that. Now, with Zaidi, this is where it's interesting. Is I see him again going small, taking Najib Sharif. This could have gone multiple different ways for me. But I think it was a best player available thing, and I saw him taking both Najib, and Akbar Faruqi. So staying small, staying a little bit. You don't have like a number one ball handler. I think Shoaib Haj becomes your de facto point guard here, but you have a lot of guys who can play both ways. I can see this changing. Looking at Zaydi's team, maybe he tries to go for a guard that can put a little bit more. It has more versatility in his game. But you got some guys who can guard. I mean, Shoaib will compete defensively. Najib will guard. Zayn is going to compete. I mean, he might reach around you and try to poke it out, but he'll try. So that will be interesting. And building backwards, Abad, they get their big guy, and Mansour, Ayub, they get their point guard, and Hamza Ahmed. That might be another thing who's played before. And I like Kidwai going and getting Taha Mirza. I think Taha is one of the most underrated players in KBA. There's not a lot of guys who know their role, who can play really hard, and can also hit A3. And it might not be consistent, but like when it matters, you need a role guy to make an open shot. And people are going to leave Taha open throughout the league, especially if you have Bandy and Bassett. You can he's a point of attack defender. You can put him on the best player, and if he spaces and he's open, I mean he can make one. So I like the idea here. This is what I think should happen: is you start with those two guards, those two superstars, and build behind it with guys who can really complement their game. And I played with them before. Quick touch. I'm talking about Zaki. Zaki, maybe I have him sliding too far. Maybe Zaki should be picked earlier. He's a pretty talented big guy, can finish around the rim, has some issues defensively, but again, in this league, is that really that big of a deal? So perhaps I'm underrating where he should be picked. This is not a knock on his skill level, but I think if he were to fall to where Jazz takes him here, it'd be a good pickup. It's somebody that can take the dump downs when Starek gets to and can pressure. And he can play behind Aman at the 4, and you can still play that lineup together. Kamran, I think this is his first year in the league, though he's sub-pooled before. Talented offensive player, can do a little bit. I debated here where would it go, just because it's a tough fitting around Usfer is a tough team. You want to make sure you have guys who understand what the role going to be. Usfer tends to be a ball dominant player who can do a lot, and so you want guys who are going to excel in their roles. Garman has done a lot on the ball too, so I'm not entirely sure where Rayhan goes here, but I think at the talent available at this level, you probably take him. Maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know. I'm going to touch on Irfan Safi, the commissioner, Dictator. I just want to say, the reason that he's even drafted this late is just because everybody wants to have fun. If we were picking the best player, you would be drafted number one overall. But here is going to play your role. You're going to fit in. You're so busy being the commissioner that you're not even going to make it every week. So this way you can relax. The first Desi picked by Murtaza Mirza here. So, but you're part auto basically. So it should be good. I'm not even going to touch on Mr. Thali. Unfortunately, I don't know who you are. I've heard good things, so that's why you're this high. Usually, if I don't know who you are, you'd be round 7. But I've heard that you are a fantastic player, so we're going to go there. I'm going to unblock the rest of the draft now, and then we're just going to talk about some key players that might be coming down. So let's start with. Let's start with Arif Huck, reigning champion. I think he comes down to Zaidi in round 5. Potential steal at the end of round 5, early round 6. Very talented offensive player. He's going to pair him with Abbas Ahmad. Now the question as I look back on Zaidi's team is this enough size? And so I think there could be some changes here. You could see an Ansar go here. You could see maybe a Mansour Ali get drafted a little bit earlier than I have. But just to have some size to help Zaidi. But I know Zaidi, Zaidi, he doesn't hide from his challenge. He thinks he's the best big in the league. Maybe he doesn't need any other size with him that he can go. And there's some interesting offense here. I just don't know how it all will mesh together. Abbas Ahmed, I think, will help him a little bit on the rebounding side. Let's talk about some newcomers. Nasser Faruqi, newcomer, I think gets drafted in the 6th round to Hamza Malik. Interesting player, can do a little bit. We're just going to have to see what it's like on this level of competition. This is not Ramadan hoops. This is the KBA. So we're going to have to see how he does and how he can withstand a 5-on-5 game. But definitely going to be interested in watching that. Similar newcomer, Amar Patel, Amar Media, the man behind the lens. Very hyped to see him in the league. Definitely can shoot it. I can tell you that much. He can shoot it. And he'll be paired with Anas and Ibrahim, so it could be positive. You show up and you make some open shots, you can make a name for yourself. Let's talk about Rafe, who I think is returning. He was sporadic in and off the league. I think this gives a really nice backup big to Big Mo, someone who's can play the power forward, can play the center, but can just play hard. I think that matters. And of course, Shaz and Anas, just the bromance that is Shaz and Anas. I mean, he's been talking about how Shaz would be so much more dominant than Ali Zaidi if he just had a good point guard like Anas, and this is going to be Anas' chance to prove that. So we'll see about that. Let's touch on a couple other guys, and if I don't talk about you, I don't want to be here for 45 minutes. There'll be plenty of moments for me to talk about you over the season. I just want to give a little bit of sense of the teams or what I think might happen, and I could be totally wrong, Let's talk about Hamza Abbasi joining Jazz's team, having a point guard there. Could be a really good fit, Hamza can do a little bit of different things. He's kind of good overall, doesn't excel in one thing, but can do a lot of different things, and that could be helpful. You might need a point guard here, otherwise, I mean, it's the Tarek show no matter what, but, it'd be helpful if someone else could bring the ball up every once in a while. Yeah, I don't know who's going to bring the ball up here otherwise. I think Hamza team rounds it out pretty interestingly. He gets some 2 old head shooters, and then he gets Ansar as a backup big guy to just give you some size. Not bad. Let's talk about that Basset team. How do you round it out? You get Imad, you get Zayn, you get Mohamed Farhan. I mean, this, again, if this is what ends up happening for Kidwai, I just really like how you build that team. You got to get the offense and then just surround it with other guys who are going to play their role. Imad knows his role. Zayn Jamiluddin, champion, knows his role. It's going to be pretty solid. For Ayub, I also like what they did here. You get potentially a steal, Waqas Mansour in the 6th round. Now, I wonder how this will hurt Waqas's ego if he's actually drafted this low. Is it obviously was one of the premier Muslim players, 15 years ago. He's not what he once was, but he is still a good player. Still has an attitude. I was going to say the right attitude, but I don't think that's the right word. So we'll see if that's what ends up happening, and he'll be paired with Muhammad Ahad, of course. Daniel Asim, returner to the league, good player. I think he's always a steal. Always goes down late and is always a steal. So if he ends up dropping this late, you know what you're getting. You're getting someone who's consistent, who can shoot, who can dribble, who can play make sometimes. So I like that. Rehan Rahman and Ali Hassan are newcomers to the league. I think Amar Shaheen is also a newcomer to the league, and I don't know you, Amar, so I apologize. Same with Mazen Sayed. I don't know them. But I think this is the spot where you prove yourself. You're a newcomer. You might get drafted in the 7th round. Prove that you deserve to be in this league, and prove that your pick should have been higher. And I think that's what we might see here. Mr. Irrelevant definitely will be Ali Hassan, I think, and then Rehan Rahman, bigger player. Usually you don't get bigs, and he can do a little bit of stuff. Now, is it enough? And how's his IQ going to be? That's going to be the question, but definitely could be interesting. And the last player I want to touch on is Wasey Siddiqui, drafted. I have him to Hamza Malik at the beginning of the 7th round. Wasey got through some knee issues. I think this is his first league in a little while. Definitely first time playing in KBA in a little while. And so I would be excited to see how he plays. I think this is a good team to show that you can be a 3-and-D guy, can play your role, and can help. So that's what I have. Hopefully it was not too bad to listen to. I think this is going to be a very fun and exciting season. There's a lot of stars in this league, a lot of stars I'm excited to see some of those battles. And if teams are willing to branch out and take guys that maybe they haven't played with, you can have some really, really good overall teams. So let's see what happens. This is what I think is going to happen on draft day. Let me know again where I made the mistakes in the comments, but appreciate you guys. Abdullah out.
This telecast is copyright by KXP Entertainment, a division of KXP Properties Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this telecast, or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of this game without the express written consent of KXP is prohibited.